in and a lot of us are going out, we could chat about helping our kids transition to a new school. Um, so I know I'm preparing to go back to Canada. Is anybody else? I know Joanna is, and Laura's going back, and Cheryl's got a little more time. Yeah, okay, awesome. Um, so either way, whether you're coming into an outcan or you're returning home, transitioning schools, especially for primary age kids, can be a really big challenge, a lot of anxiety, a lot of worries around that. So I really just wanted to share some tips and some things you could do to ease that transition. So 10 things we can do before we move. And these are things that my family has been doing since we arrived in San Diego, to be honest. Starting the conversation early. They've known since the day we arrived that we were here for a set amount of time, and that time would end, and then we would have to leave. Um, so they know it's coming, they've known it's coming, they've had a lot of emotions around it. Um, and that's all fine, but you don't want to do something like this as a surprise. We're leaving the only school you've ever went to. So definitely start the conversation early and focusing on positives. So don't focus on the fact that they're leaving their old school and their friends and all their favorite stuff. Try to focus on the good stuff, like maybe you get to live closer to family and they get to see grandma and grandpa very often, or maybe you're moving to an area where they can play their favorite sport again year round, or something like that. Like maybe they want to play hockey and hockey's not popular where you are. um, so focus on all of the good stuff. Not that the negatives aren't there, and not that we don't talk about the negatives if they come up, but um, yeah, just keep that focus on all the good stuff. And if you can, give your kids some control over the situation. Um, and that could be, maybe they can't choose what school they go to, but maybe they could choose some extracurricular activities, like if they want to play on the school soccer team or if they want to join an art class. Give them some choices in the transition. Um, I'm a firm believer in kids always having choices. As adults, we give ourselves choices. Um, and I think it's really important for kids to really feel involved, to have those choices. If you can, go for a sneak peek. I know one of the good things that's come out of COVID and the pandemic is many schools are posting introduction videos for new students. Before COVID, you could maybe go into the school and have a little mini tour with your family so they could see where they're going, but they're not really doing that anymore. Um, so I know a lot of schools, our school that we're moving to, has tons of videos so that the kids can have a sneak peek at what their school is going to look like. Um, Next, once you arrive in your new location, create a new routine and practice it. So if you know they're going to need to be at school by 8:15 and you plan on riding your bike or walking, you don't have to do it every day, but practice what you're going to do to get to school so that on the first day of school, it's familiar. They know the routine, they know what to expect. Um, as a parent, getting involved in the PTA or other volunteer opportunities at your school can be really comforting, especially for kids who are maybe a little anxious. If they know that every Tuesday you're going to be helping in the library and you will physically be there at school, um, that can be a really big reassurance. Even if they don't see you, even if you don't get to say hi or see each other, if they know that you're there, that can definitely be a big comfort if you have an anxious child. And talking to your new school staff. So, for our new school, we've already reached out to the school, started the registration process. Um, and our school principal is going to try to figure out who our kids' teachers will be before the end of this year, just so that we can do a quick Zoom to say hi and introduce ourselves, and hopefully our kids will, get to see and know their teacher's name before the first day of school. Not all schools can accommodate that, but thankfully our little school can. And next, number 8, don't forget their last school. Don't pretend like they didn't have friends or they didn't have a school. Um, Encourage them to talk about the fun things they got to do, or their favorite memories, or their favorite school trip. Um, it may make them feel sad, and that's okay. But it's important not to forget that those things happened. Um, Also, the most important when parenting, have realistic expectations. Um, if you know you have an anxious child, or your child is just feeling really nervous, um, it's okay if their first day is terrible. And I think it's important to share with them that it's okay if their first day isn't great, because each day it will get a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better until they feel totally comfortable and a part of their new class group. And then lastly, hold space for your child's feelings. And by that, I really mean if they feel sad, if they feel angry, if they feel excited, if they are anxious, if they can't wait to see their new school, all those feelings are valid. Um, and it's important to let them feel those feelings and talk about it and work through it with them. If they're sad, say, I know you're sad. I'm sad too. I've had so much fun living in this house. Um, and, just allowing them to feel what they're going to feel, and don't make them feel bad for not feeling excited about moving schools or moving to a new house. Um, just kind of work with them, help them through it, and talk about it. Give them that space to, feel sad or feel angry, and just let them know that it's okay to have those feelings. Those feelings are valid. Um, and then my next slide, I have a little tool to share with you guys. And this is a tool we use actually every year for first day of school. So if your child is very worried about starting at a new school, you can help them create a worry list. And a worry list is a way to take a big worry like that first day of school and break it down into manageable and measurable pieces. So I broke it, first day of school jitters or nervousness into 4 kind of mini tasks. So the first one will be visit your school, whether you can, do imagination, or if there's a video you can watch of your school. And then after that, you can actually role play it with them so that they can practice what they're going to do that first day of school. And then real life, they actually get to go and visit their school. And even if the school's not open yet, even just, taking the route you're going to take to get to school and going up to the front door or the entry gate, just visiting the actual physical school, even before it's even open, can be so helpful. And then as they obtain each goal, you guys maybe can decide on a little reward. Maybe that's an ice cream, or they get to buy a new book, whatever really motivates them to work on this stuff, that can be the reward. Maybe it's even just a sticker. It doesn't have to be something huge, but I think rewarding each goal, I'm all about rewards. Those of you who have joined me, I talk about rewarding kids a lot, so I'm all for rewarding them. And then after they've done those 3 steps, imagine, role play, real life, they can move on to their next goal. So if you can actually find their classroom, so the next time you can imagine or do your video, role play where they're going to walk, what route they're going to take. And then if you can do it in real life, that is amazing. Um, Knowing where they're going that first day of school and not having that, anxiety around not being sure of where to find your classroom. If you can get rid of that before the first day of school, they're going to feel so much more confident. And then if you can meet the teacher, that is fantastic. And if you can't meet the teacher in person, just have them imagine it and role play. Like maybe I'll be the teacher and my son can just be him. And we'll role play, pretend play, exactly what he's going to do on that first day of school so that he has a plan. He knows what he wants to say. He knows what he wants to do. And if you can't do that in real life, that's okay. But I think imagining it and role playing it so that they have a plan and they know what to do can be so helpful. And then our last goal is going to be to say hi to a new friend. Even if that doesn't happen on the first day, even if that doesn't happen on the first week, it's another goal that you can, imagine, you can have them role play it. And then once they feel ready in real life, you can write down that date and then they get that last final reward. If you break big worries like the first day of school up into small manageable chunks for them, it makes it way less scary because they have a plan. They know what they want to say. They know what they want to do. They know where they're going to go. And that can be really reassuring to a lot of kids. So that was kind of all I wanted to share today. And as always, I love to chat about it. If you have experience or what you've done in the past to help your kids through transitioning, this is the school we're in right now is the only school my kids have gone to. So I know this transition is going to be challenging for them. So that's kind of why I was doing research on this, and I wanted to have a really good plan before we even moved so that we could be prepared and ready. And Cheryl says probably not his favorite idea to role play. My kids either, until we practiced it. And now that we've practiced a bunch of times and they know how to role play, it can be an effective tool. And if it doesn't work for your child, I'm not saying you have to do this. It's just something that you can try to, help them know what to do and, have a plan of what to say or what to expect. Is anybody else moving to a brand new school?
Thanks.
So does anybody have some tips for me on how I can help my kids transition since it's their very first time starting at a new school?
The thing I found hard changing schools, especially when you've been at one school and you're moving, is having lower expectations for yourself or having no expectations because schools are so different. And it's hard to go in and you think you understand what school is based on your one experience, and then different schools have different ways of doing things. And I personally struggle with asking questions without it sounding like I'm judging. Do you know what I mean? It's because I'm asking based on my experience, and I'm not saying that it's better. It's just this is how they do it at the other school. I didn't know there was another way to do it. So tell me what you do here.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good point to also lower my expectations because this is the only school I've ever interacted with, and our school here is phenomenal. And it's a different country, so I know, you kind of know in the back of your mind it's going to be different. We're in a different country, they're going to do things differently, but you're right to lower your expectations and give them a chance to kind of, see how they're going to handle things, see how they're going to teach. And that's a really good point, Laura. Thank you.
I think one of the tricks that I've learned is to ask open-ended questions so that you're not saying, how do you do this? Or sort of instead of pointing out differences, say, so how do the teachers and families communicate? Do you have a newsletter? How will I hear from the administration? That kind of thing, instead of just saying, at my old school, they did it this way. How do you do it?
Yeah,
Right?
exactly. Yeah, you're right. Like being really open-ended and just being, asking, hey, I'd love to sign up for a newsletter if you have one. Or, how can I expect my teachers to communicate with me? What should I be looking for? That's a great tip, Laura.
One of the things I found hard coming here was that we didn't know what questions to ask because everything was so different. So
Mhm.
even when somebody said, well, I'm here, ask me any questions you have,
And then
you,
it's
you
like,
don't really know because
can
you
you?
don't know things.
Mhm.
So figuring out like
What you need
the
to
things that
know.
are important to you in terms of like maybe communication, or I don't know, communication's a big one in my house.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree. I
so
agree.
asking questions and then, yeah, letting them fill in the blanks that you have.
Mhm. That's a good idea, actually. Now I'm gonna go make myself a list of questions to make sure I know exactly, what to expect.
And I think that works also in for those that are listening that are in Canada, moving across Canada, because I think it doesn't really matter where you move to. Every school, as we know, can be different, right?
Mhm.
Depending on their school boards. So just I love the points that were shared. And I think also just being, getting on those school lists in the very beginning, checking out their school calendar that you're going to, that's important because the
Mhm.
dates might be different, the holidays are different. Professional development days, I know it's not called PD days in the US or maybe in other countries. So I think that's always important to check those calendars and be like Laura was saying on the newsletters, the communication piece, so important. And making those lists of questions, because you're right, what question do you ask? I mean, somebody can give you a list but it might not work for your family.
Mhm.
So it's
Yeah, like
those
our
are
needs are so individual that what's important to me is probably maybe not important to you.
yeah, so great points.
Mhm.
Cynthia, a couple months ago, you had talked about individual education plans for kids. So I'm
Mhm.
just curious what your thoughts are on if someone has their child in an IEP here in the States
Mhm.
and or anywhere, really honestly anywhere, and then they're moving to a new school.
Mhm.
Any thoughts on how best to help your child transition? Because IEPs can be so different between every school system too. So.
Mhm. So I have actually already started that process. As soon as I registered my kids, I did send a note to the principal just explaining our situation that we have an IEP for my son and kind of a really brief summary of the supports he's getting. And I was also actually able to reach out to our mental health leader for our district who kind of looks after all the kids. um, so I've also been able to make contact with her so that we can come up with a transition plan to just to help the transition go smoothly and to make sure, especially for my son, that the supports he gets in his new school are reasonably consistent with the supports he's been getting here. It's never going to be 100%, and I know that. I'm going into this knowing that it's not going to be the same. Um, just the schools are set up so different. But I think it's important to, go on your district's website and find those people. Like if you have mental health concerns, if you're on an IEP, find those contacts as early as possible, because the sooner they know that you're going to need a little extra, um, the sooner those steps can be put in place and we can get that ball rolling. um, so you're right. I think if you do need an IEP, the good thing is Canada and the US utilize IEPs very similarly. So they're I wouldn't say exactly the same, but close enough that if you bring an IEP from the US, they're going to be able to at least reasonably, meet those same expectations or those same supports. Yeah.
I just want to share one thing that worked with me moving with my children is that I always ask them what was the questions they'd like to know about their school. And so when I sort of bring it into hearing, the things that they might want to know, or the concerns or comments or anything like that, so that I was able to share with the school, these are the questions my kids have, so that we could go back to the kids and, around the dinner table, or we, sort of sitting around and
Yeah.
having a conversation and say, okay, so here's some, taking back your questions. Here's some of the answers that we found out, or here's some of if it's a virtual tour of the school or those kinds of things. Those are very, very helpful. And with Google Maps, it makes it so easy to plunk yourself down right in front of the school. And if you're
Mhm.
into sports, this is what it will look like if you play sports and in your school or around your school. So that was very, very helpful, I think, for my kids. They were able to visualize that. And not only that, but it was, sort of asking them the questions and getting the responses back for them as well, because they have
Yeah,
questions and they
that's
don't know how
so,
to
you're so
do
right.
it.
That is so important to ask them, and that's part of letting them take some control, letting them share what's important to them. And if you can get answers to what's important, that will just give them that much more comfort and confidence in knowing that, what they want and what they need is important. And, whatever those answers are, even if it is something as simple like, is there a book of the month club, or is there a sports team, or if they can know that ahead of time, then they can be prepared and they know what exactly they can do. So I love that pointer, Tammy. That's awesome.
I have a question. We're not going back till next summer, but I'm just a little bit concerned with my youngest because he's basically going to skip grade 1 and go into grade 2
Because of his
so
birthday issue,
because of
right?
his birthday. So I'm just wondering, like, I'm kind of considering when he finishes school in May,
Mhm.
maybe having somebody tutor him a couple times a week before we even move. And then when we get back to Canada, maybe have some tutoring for him as well. But I don't want to like overwhelm him. But at the same time, I also don't want to put him into grade 2 and then have him be like overwhelmed and maybe not be on the same page as all the other students in his class. Like,
Mhm.
I don't know if that would be a good thing to do, or do you think that that would be too much for him to handle? Like, I just don't really know how to handle that situation.
Mhm.
I would wait and talk to the teacher myself,
Yeah.
because teachers will tell you that if they have, 20 or 30 kids in their class, they have 15 to 25 different levels that those kids are at.
Mhm.
Right.
So just because he's in his situation doesn't mean he's automatically going to be behind, and your teacher is used to working with different levels and sort of accommodating that. There's no class that's all
On the
at
same
the same
level.
place. And principals arrange classes like that on purpose, so that you don't have one class that's all behind level and another one that's all ahead, to sort of keep them
Even.
equal across
Yeah.
a school, and so that it's fair to the teachers. So I would wait and see what the teachers say.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
So I would
appreciate
like,
that.
as soon as you know where you're going and where you're going to be living, um, even if it is in like April or May of, you know, and then you're going to start in September, I would just reach out and explain the situation. And I feel like in the US, they start academics really early. I feel like they start the academics like in kindergarten, whereas I think in Canada, kindergarten is still a lot of play-based learning.
Yeah.
So I feel like even if he technically misses grade 1, I think he'll probably be okay.
I think so too. I think I've just got myself all
Yeah.
stressed about it because I don't know what the gap is going to be like really. Um,
You know what?
so I think
Right.
it's mostly me that's stressed.
That's okay. I
Yeah.
felt the same. And I
Yeah.
don't know if Tammy's still able to do this, but Tammy was able to get the remember at Costco the
I
curriculum
was just gonna,
workbooks, the Canadian curriculum
yes,
workbook.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Maybe somebody could send you the grade 1 version of the curriculum workbooks. And then that way you know exactly what the grade level looks like. And you can
Right.
even just start working through it now, you know,
Yeah.
Mhm.
just to kind of have that peace of mind that, you know, he at least has seen what Canadian grade 1 curriculum looks like.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's a
and
good
those are
idea.
yeah, those are great books. It's funny because I just wrote that down. But yeah, those
Oh.
Costco curriculum books, and Cheryl, I can absolutely check here at the Costco, and it's grade 2 you're looking for?
I guess it'll be grade 1.
Oh, grade 1. Okay, so I'll make sure that I look for the grade 1 book. But I'd also say I do have a son. My older son skipped a grade, and we moved in the middle of. I've had several moves with him, but and I remember having those sort of concerns as well. But it was sort of reaching out to the teacher, and exactly what Laura was saying is, connecting, because they do make the classrooms, based on the learning environment of the different learners that are there, and I found that Alex actually excelled because he was actually learning at his level.
Yeah.
So you might find that as well. I mean, but it is certainly a real concern when you're skipping a grade and then as they get older, right, graduating a year, they're younger, right? It depends on where you
Yeah.
are located. That happened to myself as well. Alex was just turning 17 when he graduated. He was 16 and turning 17, so he was fairly young when he graduated high school. So there was those concerns too. But yeah, it's always reaching, like, if you can reach back to your teachers in the
Okay.
classroom.
Okay.
And I found the Ontario school system, anyone speak up? I was really impressed with the Ontario school system myself when we were in
Mhm.
Kingston. So I don't know if, Laura, did you teach in Ontario or
In Quebec City.
in Quebec? Okay. So
Yeah.
yeah.
No, so we're going to Ontario, and I've been super impressed with the school system. Like I said, like I was able to reach out to the mental health leader for our entire district, and she got back to me really promptly. We had a phone conversation. We're planning to do a Zoom before the end of their school year, and
That's good.
Excellent.
yeah, the school district seems really good.
Whereabouts are you going to?
We're going to Borden.
Oh, okay.
So just outside of Barrie, which is
Yeah.
kind of funny because that's my husband and I met in Barrie in college. So
It's amazing how it all happens, right?
yeah,
Military journey.
it's funny.
Mm.
It'll be an easy transition for once because we have support systems and we have friends and
Yeah.
we know the area. So
That's good.
looking forward to that part.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We talk a lot about when you talk like the first day of school and how it's always chaos. Like even for kids who have gone to the same school, if they're in grade 6 and they've gone to the same school for 7 years, this is their 7th first day. It's always chaos and kids are always stressed. So we kind of say it's normal rather than good or bad. Like it's normal that it's a chaotic day and it's normal that you felt lonely. You don't know anybody here. Why would you feel like you're Mr. Popularity? Because just to, normalize things and make it
Yeah.
so
Like
that
lowering
it's
that
not,
expectation that like I think
yeah,
sometimes we hype our kids up. Oh, it's the first day of school. It's so exciting. But
yeah,
it's
So-
not. It's stressful and it's awkward and it could be terrifying.
yeah.
Mhm.
Mm.
And
Maybe
I
they
drive
don't
my
know where the
kids,
bathroom is and you're telling them they're going to have a great day. So
yeah,
that's
exactly.
a great point to just keep those expectations low for them and realistic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always drive my kids crazy because I talk about Inside Out. I love that movie. They don't love it.
I love
Yeah.
that
But
movie.
how a memory
okay.
has or an event has more than one feeling attached to it. So it can be scary, but also exciting, or well, that's a different thing. We talk about how scared and excited feel the same in your body. But about how things can be happy and sad at the same time, or you can be angry and I can't remember the other one, but we kind of talk about how the first day of
Mhm.
school, you don't have to feel one way about it.
That's a great, great perspective. Thanks for sharing that, Laura, because that's a great movie. And yeah, when you think of that and, you can really visualize that, right? And put yourself in the,
I thought it was a
that's
great way
okay.
of looking, like that
Yeah.
movie was like, oh, that's so true. Like you think about a
Yeah.
funeral, it's a sad
Yeah.
time, but maybe you also have really happy memories with your cousins at that time.
Yeah.
So it
It's
kind of
okay to be
changed.
both.
Yeah.
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 It's okay to have those feelings. They're all valid, no matter what they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Such a good point. I love
It's
that
kind of
movie too.
interesting. I to think about emotions that way, because when we left Trenton, the kids were so much younger, but when we'll be going back to the same place, so they're gonna have all these like memories from leaving there or when we were there, and now it's gonna be interesting to see like how their emotions have changed over the past 3 years. They're gonna have like compiled emotions on top of the ones they had before.
A lot more complex too.
Yeah, a lot more
I feel
complex.
like
Yeah.
when they're really small, they can kind of
Mm.
just go with the flow, and they like,
Yeah.
they know that you've changed, you're in a new city, or maybe you're in a new house. But
Hmm.
I feel like as they get a bit older, the emotions get a bit bigger. And
Right. It's probably like that for
Yeah,
you too,
that's-
Laura, with your kids, because you're going back to it before, right?
Yeah. Rachel's, she's outside the scope of this group, but we left Ottawa after grade 9 and we're going back for grade 12 to the same school. So while she's very excited about it, she's also nervous about reconnecting with people in person, because that their Instagram person is not the same as their person. And what if they've changed, or what if they think I've changed?
Yeah.
So again, we talk about keeping your expectations low, and you're just a nice person, and your vibe attracts your tribe. She hates that one too.
I love that. Exactly.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's a
But
good one.
like
True.
maybe you'll be friends with different people, and that's your
Yeah.
friendships would have evolved even if you'd been there all that time. So yeah, the expectations are heavy, and the feelings are
Yeah,
big.
that's big. That's big.
Every time my kids, say, am I weird for liking this? Or is it weird that I enjoy this? And I'm like, buddy, when you get older, you're going to find other people who like this weird stuff too. And they're going to be your best friends for life. So like, stay weird. Don't
Yes.
be normal. Just be who you are, and your tribe will find you.
Yeah.
Like,
And what is normal, right? That's what we say. What
right?
is
Like,
normal?
what is,
We don't know.
especially right now, like, what is
Yeah.
normal?
Be-
We're
yeah.
still trying to figure that out. The whole world
Yeah.
is still trying to figure that out.
Yeah. Just be you. And it's really hard. It's easy for us to say, but it's hard for them to do as they
To
get
do.
older and they're around those environments, and
Mhm.
and they get in those teen years. But just be you.
Yeah, just be you, and there'll be other people who are into the same stuff as you. It might take a while to find them, but you
Yeah.
will.
Yeah. I love that word, weird. I think it's a really cool word. Just be weird.
It
I
is.
like
Just be
it.
weird. I
Just be
mean,
weird. I'm gonna bring that up tonight. Just be weird. I
weird.
love
It's okay.
it. Absolutely. Well, some great points shared, Cynthia,
Thank you.
on here, and it's good to connect like this.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys for signing on and chatting with me and hanging out. I always appreciate it.
Mhm.